Now, one of the government's plans announced in the King's speech yesterday, it's a new crime and policing bill, which will make spiking a specific criminal offence. Seems strange that it's not already, but at least we're getting there. We talked about this earlier on in the week, didn't we, with Molly Rainford, whose EastEnders storyline is making a lot of headlines and got people talking, which is good. Well, last year, presenter Daisy Maskell was actually spiked deliberately in a groundbreaking TV experiment to demonstrate what exactly it feels like.
I'm really feeling something kick in now. It's like I'm listening to my voice in the room as opposed to it coming out of me. My body doesn't have the capability anymore to do what I want to do, if that makes sense. Now I can stand up.
Do you want to try and walk down the corridor? I want you to try and walk in a straight line, putting one foot in front of the other.
Okay.
Like that, okay.
Yep.
And how are you feeling now?
I feel really big. I'm like clinging onto the wall as well.
Well, Daisy joins me now along with Dr. Hilary. And Daisy, thank you for doing this documentary and thank you for putting yourself through that. You were in a obviously, you were being filmed in a very safe environment. But even then, you know, what you were describing was absolutely shocking.
It's terrifying. It's so scary watching back that footage of yourself as well. And obviously, I had the privilege of going through so many medicals to make sure that I was going to be okay. I knew I was in a safe environment, but that is not a privilege that any spiking victim gets. And even with me being in that controlled environment, it was so scary to still feel so out of control of my body.
No, exactly. And what was going on in your head when all of these, I mean, because it must be really scary because things are changing. You know, what you're experiencing is totally different.
Obviously, I knew that I was going to be spiked at some point in the experiment, and I had 3 drinks that were served to me and the spike was in one.
Right.
And instantly, I couldn't tell at all. And that was another thing as well. I thought that I would be able to maybe taste it or see that the drink was a different colour, but I had absolutely no idea. And I would say 5-10 seconds into consuming that drink with the spike in, it hit immediately.
Wow.
It was an experience that I've never sort of experienced before. I know, you know, there's always the question with spiking victims that they get asked, did you drink too much? Was there really something in your drink? It being spiked, it's such a different experience to having one too many.
It's really scary that it actually happened so incredibly quickly. That's the worry, isn't it? And it's horrible. I mean, Hilary, we've talked about this before, but we have, and it's dreadful because the symptoms, you know, as Daisy was describing there, right away. Right away, you're not, it's that thing of you're not in control of yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's terrifying.
And of course, there's a variety of drugs that the people doing the spiking might use, so you get different effects according to the different drugs. So it could be more alcohol, but usually it's something else. It might be ketamine, it might be GHB, it might be Rohypnol, the date rape drug, it might be hundreds of different sedatives or tranquilizers. So the immediate effects would be increased intoxication. So you're going to be less inhibited, you're going to do things that you wouldn't normally do. But disorientation, confusion, dizziness, nausea and vomiting, sleepiness, passing into unconsciousness, and you're incredibly vulnerable. It can happen in a flash, if you said, Daisy.
See, that's the thing.
And that's the scary thing.
And it's not, sadly, it's really on the increase. It really is, isn't it? It's scary out there. Not just young women, that young men get targeted. Well, actually, everyone's at risk, really, if you want to look at it like that.
Absolutely, and people do this for different reasons as well. You know, there is, I guess, the most common reason why someone would spike someone. It usually, unfortunately, leads to an assault. But there are so many cases of friends doing this within their own friendship groups, doing it as a laugh, putting something in their friend's drink, maybe to liven them up or to think that they'll have a better night. And they don't actually realise that this is now a criminal offence and you don't know how a drug is going to react in someone else's body and it can have really serious consequences.
Well, you saw that even in a controlled way.
Exactly.
But also they're doing things like, it's in vapes. People are jabbing horrible drugs into... I mean, it's just... Oh, you wonder you're probably better sitting at home. But the thing is, you should be able to go out for a night out, Daisy, and not to have this terrible worry.
I know. I think so many young people missed out so much during COVID, and to now go out and still feel unsafe, still feel like we have to guard our drinks, look after our friends, and there are so many creative ways people are coming up with being able to lay cigarettes, insert drugs into vapours of vapes. It's really scary.
And when you were looking into this, did you discover that these drugs are really easy to get a hold of? Like, you can sort of buy them, more or less, anyway.
They are. It's really hard to bring in legislation on some of these common drugs that can be bought quite easily online as well. So it's such an issue, and it's how do we clamp down on this? Obviously, this law being passed is a brilliant step forward.
It is. I'm shocked it wasn't, though. That's the thing where you're kind of like, oh, right, this is good, but why is this not been in place for ages?
I know. I actually didn't know that there wasn't a specific law that outlined spiking until I went into filming this, and it was really interesting speaking to the victims in this film. They really felt as though when they went to the police that they weren't being taken seriously, and part of that was because authorities didn't know how to prosecute for this. It's really, really difficult to get.
It is difficult because it leaves the system very quickly.
It does.
Doesn't it? That's the thing, Hilary. If this happens to you, well, the onus is on you, isn't it? But if you're not in charge of your faculties at that point.
And unfortunately, each individual has to take greater responsibility for themselves now. You know, you've got to treat everybody as suspicious, even if they appear charming. It's a horrible world.
It is awful. And your pals have to look out for you.
Absolutely. So
friends.
if you feel like this, tell your friends straight away. And if it's somebody else, don't leave their side. Don't let them go home on their own. Report it to someone's trusted. It could be somebody in security, a police, could be a bar manager, could be a bouncer, somebody that's trusted, but don't leave them. No. And it always needs to be reported so we can understand the scale of the problem and try and investigate further in that individual circumstance. Yeah. So reporting is important. And if you think if you wake up and you think you've been assaulted in some way, obviously that's a police matter. There are agencies that can help you if you feel that you've been sexually assaulted, and all this is important. But this is good that we've got a specific criminal offence coming along that hopefully will punish the perpetrators.
Yeah, and just have it at the forefront of your mind. Daisy, your documentary, people can still see it, can't they?
They can, yes, they can. They can catch it on Channel 4. So
great, on the catch-up.
On the catch-up, get it on the catch-up.
Very, very easy to do. I just would urge everybody to watch that, especially parents, just to make sure, and it's that thing, be like the Marines, leave no pal behind. You know, make sure you look after your friends.
That's right.
It's really, really important. And as you said, Daisy, it's not funny to do that as a joke. It is not funny at all and could be really, really serious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for the work you do. It's really important. Thanks so much.
Thank you for highlighting.
Yeah, well, the government have caught up with you now. So
that's good.
Thank you.
Catching up.